Like I said, ke mphulaphula umthando Keith ngesi radio, we are getting straight into conversations naye ke ubhuti Siphiwe wakwaMoyo. We are currently live apha esikhululweni. I'm not sure if you can hear me ke bhuti. Please just confirm sound so that I know that we're good to go.
I can hear you well. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Ke bhuti mandizibuyisele kuwe ke bhuti ndibambe ngazo zozibini, and thank you so much for joining us, for honoring the invitation and joining us on the show. Mna ke, like I said, I am uVuyo kwaMdingi, ndizawube ke ndiyiqulunqa le nkqubo ke mphulaphula umthando Keith ngesi radio, but andifuna umintroduce ngokwam ke ubhuti. Ndifuna nje, please just give us a brief introduction about ubhuti Siphiwe Moyo.
Enkosi kakhulu Vuyo, thank you so much for having me. So Siphiwe Moyo is a guy who was born in Soweto in a place called Mfulo South, and moved to a place also eJozi ebizwa ngokuthiwa i-Orange Farm. Ndingumuntu nje ovela ku-human resources, organizational
Okay.
behavior background, and the motivational speaker, but I'm also a family man, so in law.
Lovely, lovely. It's very important, ke ubalula, just to mention that you're a family man is very, very important, so that people know that you can, so that people see that you can all do it. You can do it at once. You are able to do it. But also, get leading me to my next question. Uthetha nge-organizational structure. Tell us, because ubhuti is let me currently scroll this on the screen so that bazokubona. You are a global speaker, you're a facilitator, you're an author, but amongst other things, you are an organizational development facilitator. Take us through that. Umntu who doesn't know what an organizational development facilitator, what does an organizational development facilitator do? Thini umsebenzi walo
So,
mntu?
i-profession yami wena Vuyo, the primary profession into ebizwa ngokuthiwa i-organizational behavior. In other words, we study the relationship between employees and employers in many workplaces. So xa ubheka i-relationships, when you have a relationship, even between personal relationships, kunengxaki ezenzakalayo if abantu bane-relationships. Sometimes we have conflict, sometimes siyalwa, sometimes mhlampe as-understandani kakuhle. I don't understand your strengths, you don't understand my strengths, so siyaclasha because of that. So then from that organizational behavior background, we study things as far as diversity. How do we make sure that everyone at Team feels like they belong? Everyone
They
can
belong,
bring their
yes.
authentic self, so that
Uniqueness, yes.
uniqueness yakhe. So we study into njengalezo, but as an OD facilitator ke, we then try and restore our relationships emsebenzini. Sometimes kunengxaki between the employer and the employee, sizama ukufacilitator conversations based on some of the relationships that we have. So xa kunengxaki, we put people in the room and we try and have a conversation together.
So I can say, you will allow me to say Obut Sipiwe is also a mediator when it comes to employer and the employee. Welando kuthiwa
Yes,
i-mediator, that's where you come in.
ungayibeka kanjalo, because I guess it is some kind of an mediation. So xa ubheka i-labor laws, there is a mediation
Yes,
eyenzeka phaa kwa-CCMA, but that is a
yes,
formal one. That one is based kuma-labor laws, kuxatshwene, umuntu ugxothiwe, okanye umuntu uphiwe i-retrenchment package. So there is a mediation ehamba ngapho ku-labor law, but there's also ke i-mediation yokuthi xa silungisa the relationships that we have, and I guess that's the one that I can get involved in.
Okay, perfect. I'm seeing here you also studied and you also teach human behavior within a workplace context. That's what you just said. And also there's an achievement in the Bonayo that you have done Pakula University as a Stellenbosch up in South Africa. Take us through that before we can get straight into our motivation, because today the main purpose of all of this is for you to come, because singabantu abatsha, as the youth, we Sizawuvota ngoku. We are slowly but surely looking into IEC. A lot of abantu abatsha, they are demotivated when it comes to
Mm.
voting. But before we get into that, tell us about your achievement when it comes to Stellenbosch. What I didn't tell you, again, Radio Siphiwe is also, Prof, I did say, Iposta Ichoba, he's also an author. He's got quite a number of books that he's written. But sizawungena kuleyo. Let's just start kulena ke uyenzileyo phaa kwelaa cala laseStellenbosch. Tell us exactly what did you do at Stellenbosch, because I believe it's a huge achievement in your success.
Inkosi kakhulu, in just before 2020, before e-lockdowns, there was a
Yes.
program eyayiqala Stellenbosch University called a postgraduate program in strategic human resources management. So I was part of the developers and the facilitators and the lecturers abaqala la program, and kula program kune-module ye-organizational behavior and I designed from scratch. Even though sendihambile eStellenbosch University, I think basayisebenzisa nangoku. Maybe why improve it, I hope, because it's a few years now, but at least that first attempt yokubhala la program ye-organizational behavior eStellenbosch yenziwa ndim, and it was such an interesting appointment eyenzeka just before COVID. So, which meant ukuthi xa ezinye streams ze-income zam zivaleka. Interestingly, I had something yokubeka ukudla etafuleni at that time because we were doing it
Yeah.
online. It just also shows ukuthi sometimes, when you keep on developing skills zakho, when everything is going wrong, you can always tap into some of your skills. Like, for example, my skill of developing learning material came in handy
Mhm.
because we couldn't do events, there was no motivation. I was stuck at
Yes.
home with a big computer. But because I had knowledge in that organizational behavior field and there was no Bali learning material, suddenly that particular skill come in handy. So it's always interesting to see ukuthi, even as young people, sometimes you learn something, ufunda something, and uyazixelela ukuba this thing will never ever help you. But there comes a time when that particular skill may actually idingeke and you can earn from it.
Come into play. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I think what I'm taking away from what you just said is the mere fact that not only do I be comfortable in the skill that I have with me doing radio, I need to explore other things that I can do so that when push comes to shove, I can somewhere go tap into another skill that I have in the bag. Am I following you right? I think that's what I'm taking away from what you just said.
You're
Um,
absolutely, and Uxolo, busathetha.
No problem. No problem. You continue. The
Yeah,
platform is yours. Continue.
that is so important for you. My motto in life is that whatever you do, kufanele uxoshe indlala. NgesiZulu sithi uxosha indlala. I think it's the same thing ngesiXhosa ukuthi sometimes you must do whatever it takes ukuba indlala ingafiki endlini, and you do that
Yeah.
by multi-skilling. You do that by learning. YouTube lesikuyo ngoku has so many videos where you can teach yourself. There are people who taught themselves how to be carpenters ngexesha le-COVID. Baqala manje, now they have e-furniture businesses and they design furniture, but they learned that from scratch. So at some point, all of us must just look ourselves in the mirror and say, ndingenzani na ukuba ndiphile, ndingenzani na ukuba ndikwazi ukuxosha indlala endlini, and never rely on one skill. The more skills you learn, the more you will never get hungry, because at
The
the end
more
of
the
the day,
Njala goes away.
the ndlala goes away.
Yes, definitely. The more the Njala goes away, it won't
So
be in your
true.
family. That is
No,
guaranteed.
you don't.
But also as almost in resolving conflict, and need to resolve it within an organization, right?
Yes,
Let's
yes.
say now you see two people, you're a human most now. Even
Yeah.
celebrities are human now. Who puts Siphiwe Moyo is a human being. In as much as you've achieved a lot, you've achieved that and that and that. Is needs have not achieved as yet. When
Mhm.
you see two people, okanye, when you hear two people kusitwa nansi conflict, it doesn't have to do with organization, employee and an employer. It's just two people, and you see that. Do you tap into it? Do you try and help, or can you move away because it's no longer you at work. It's you in your spare time, but do you try, because you're a person who tries to solve people related issues, right? So what I want to know is, do you solve them only in organizations, or you go out there, you allow people to come to you, ube nguwe Dr. Phil, if I can put it like that?
Look, the thing about relationships is that fundamentally, silwela the same things all the time, whether
Yes.
kusemsebenzini or in our personal lives. Generally, conflict is because someone gune ego, akafuna ukuxolisa, someone
Yeah.
akafuna uku-admita,
Oh
and
yes.
so on.
Oh
So,
yes.
so conflicts are just generally ziyafana, but because I've really dedicated myself to resolve most of them in the workplace, um, mostly that is my focus. But I have colleagues, and the colleagues zami as ngama life coaches, that if a situation yenzeka and fanele singenelele siyangenelela. If I feel like it's too personal, it's maybe something that
Sensitive.
someone else can sort, like a counselor, and I give it to them. But generally, Nami, I do try, and you can't switch it on and off. So everywhere I am, I'm
Definitely.
trying to solve conflicts and so on. It's just that we are dealing now as a person, because each
Exactly.
and every
That was
now phumla, yabo?
my next question. But do you not get tired in cultivating hope and motivating people? But in these trying times, we get tired. We are humans. We get tired. But do you? I believe that you're a person who enjoys what they do. But
Mm.
do you not get tired? Does it not drain you at some point in life?
It does, and I get tired. And remember, people get burnt out because they love their jobs. People who don't love their jobs generally are abadinwa because they are able to switch off properly. If in their pangela, mhlambe, I'm doing something that I don't necessarily enjoy too much. If Tiwa 4:30, I must switch off. My mind is off. So Tina, people who really love our jobs, we struggle a lot to switch off. So most of the time you give and give and give until you are so depleted to diniwe and to dikiwe. And at that time, only then you realize ukuthi sendidikiwe. So but what one of the things we learn is to be able to switch off here and there, because even the quality of your advice, xa udiniwe, it reduces. You can
Yeah,
tell it's no longer as quality because you are not able to think and process things.
and also what I'm taking as well from Lendrite Tayo, there's a cup here. When you're the one who's always filling up and filling up and filling up, yours is also depleting. Yours is also it's also running dry. So you need from time to time to motivate yourself as well. Is that a possibility? Ikhona into ekuthiwa uzimotivator. For instance, I wake up this morning and I'm not feeling anything. I'm not getting any results. There's nothing in me. Ikon into
Mm.
ekuthiwa is self-motivation, so that people can hear. I know the answer to that and I know what I'm asking, but I want for someone who's listening to us and who feels demotivated to just listen to you because you're an expert, Kulendo. We can't run away from that. Is there such a thing that is called self-motivation?
Yes, there is. There is you can motivate yourself a lot, and generally there are a few ways to try and motivate yourself. So some of it is extrinsic motivation, where you remind yourself of your goal. You remind yourself, there's a lot at stake. Sometimes you really want to quit, but you remind
Yeah.
yourself, there's a lot at stake. If I quit
Yeah.
now, I will not be able to reach my goal. So there is something called self motivation, and sometimes it is future orientated, to remind yourself what's the dream. Ndiyiqalele ntoni le nto endiyiqalile? And so on. Because sometimes you also realize, ukuthi, if you stop, there's a lot of people who are also looking
Looking up
up
to
to
you.
you, who are
Mm.
going to be impacted. So that also drives that internal motivation. So, like for example, when I'm demotivated, I know, Oguti, there are so many people who are looking up to me. I need to try my best. Although, I normally tell my friends, Uguti, please don't also underestimate the fact that encouragers need encouragement as well. You know,
Yeah,
never
definitely.
get to a point where you don't ask. Just because your friend is a speaker, is a coach, don't ever get to a point where you don't ask Endotunjani, as Tini Joe, are you okay? Are you
Mm.
well? That is still important as a friend. But luckily we have some tools always motivator when chips are down.
Very, very interesting indeed, Lando. Yobana, a person, a strong person. We need to check on people who are strong. We need to check on people
Please.
like you because niyabulaleka. Also, as a person who's strong, because I for one, I am that person. You know that you find yourself, you're always there for people, but no one is ever there for you. So this is an
Mm.
encouragement to people to always check around your friends, always check around the people around you. Don't just focus on izinto ezingenamsebenzi. Even the person who's strong for you, uthi ke uphuthiwe namhlanje, you must check on those people. Let's talk about the master classes because I'm seeing a little bit of into the master class and whatnot. Tell us about that. Do you hold master classes? Do you what goes around the master classes?
Yeah, we hold master classes a lot in corporate, and master classes around conflict, around things like employee engagement, around things like team engagement. So most of the master classes I do generally are based in corporate, and we do a whole lot of those, and we even have some based on motivation as well. And it's so important, what we were talking about, because sometimes you are so discouraged when
Mm,
ngokwakho, and you don't understand that. I always make this example, Yoguti. Sometimes you feel like your life is a mess, but if you look at any houses, building process is so messy, Vuyo. When you are
it's
building,
very messy.
it is messy. We all know that the building process will probably take longer than you thought. It will cost you longer
Facts.
than you thought. But Oksala, you have to have, that top building houses. I used to be motivated and into the top building.
Mm-hmm. And at the end of the
Even
day, it
though
gets to that.
it gets to that, even those houses were once messy construction sites. So even in our relationship, sometimes we have this mess, which is where the master classes come from. But even in your personal life, please never allow discouragement to win over you, because you have to understand that you have that meantime zone. You will never, you won't be a construction site forever. Beautiful
Yeah,
homes were once messy construction sites. And if you've ever undertaken a project, it's going to take long, but oksalayo, you
at
will
the
reach
end.
that goal at the end.
You'll never remain a construction site.
No,
Nizibeleke.
you never.
Couldn't have said it better. So tell us, with the motivation part, do you go around, do you get invited as a guest, right? You motivate, you speak to people. Tell us about some of the biggest stages or some of the biggest platforms you've motivated in, because I see you've got quite a number of clients. I don't want to name them here because they are
Mm,
over, if they're over 50, if I'm being correct. I can see
yeah.
their number, but I want to know, have what how can I put this, which are the biggest stages or biggest platforms that you've motivated in?
Yeah, I think that's such an important question. I've spoken everywhere. In our country, I've spoken in so many companies. But one of my favorite things that have started to happen in the last 2 years or so is that I've also started, going to outside of the country. I've spoken in Ghana, I've spoken in Kenya, I was speaking in New York last year. And for me, that was one of the things that when I did it, I really wanted to encourage everyone else who has a dream to say your dream is absolutely valid. Sometimes you have this
It's not
fear,
invalid. Mm.
not invalid. Sometimes you have this fear, and people bakuxelela ukuba because maybe you didn't go into these particular schools, mhlambi awufundanga ema-saint, what, your dreams are
Yes.
therefore not valid. And a guy who studied in Soweto, a guy who grew up in Soweto in an orange farm, goes outside of the country and people are listening to them. I want people to understand that you must never doubt your capabilities. You must never underestimate yourself. It does not matter where you come from, you can go anywhere you like. And it's so important for us because, as I was saying, when people look at you and they look at me, what I really want them to understand is that there are no limit to where we can go, regardless ukuba sikhulele phi na. And some of these stages that I go to now, all over the world, it's such a great honor. But I want to use it to say, everyone who's listening, um, never give up. And uthathe impilo yakho wazi ukuba ixhomekeke kuwe. And you need to
Yeah.
look in the mirror and say, I will do everything that I need to do to achieve my dreams.
You are eating all my words. Watya onke amazwi wam. That is a direct translation from English to Xhosa. You are literally taking it all, because that was my next question. Seeing that you were vice president of the Professional Speakers Association of Southern Africa, and you're also
Mm.
a chairman of the board at South African Board for People Practices.
Mm.
Amazing achievements indeed. Tell us, how do you do it? Macephe mangapi ekseni? Usela mangapi amacephe ekseni? Mangapi late? How do you do it? You're a family man this side, ngapha uzi president, you are chairman. How do you do it? For a person, the reason I'm asking this question, for someone who's at home, because
Mm.
ndibalule into ezininzi that you do. You're an organizational behavioral specialist, you're a global speaker, you're an author, you're a lot. You're a motivational speaker. For someone who's at home, who's demotivated, who's not even thinking of being anything or being anyone because of imek, or because of
Mhm.
circumstances, because of izinto that are around us, because of where we come from. Suka kwinto ezinjenge-COVID, people were very demotivated. For a person who's sitting at home, me giving them your profile, uba ungulo mntu ungaka, what would you say to them from ezi zinto? How did you do them? Is it perseverance? Is it ukunyamezela? Is it tell us, how did you do it, so that a person who's listening, who's tuning in, azova, so maybe you could touch someone's heart. How did you do it, or how do you do it?
Yeah, vuyokunyamezela is very important, but because people bayathanda ukuba thina ama-motivational speakers sithanda ukukhuthaza, but we don't want to tell them how exactly you did it.
To do
And
it,
so,
and
yeah,
you don't tell people the truth half of the time. You do not, you just motivate. You don't tell us the truth. Sometimes you need to tell me you need to make me face reality.
yeah,
Nina, what you do is kuzolunga, but how how do you
no,
get to
no,
a
that's
person?
very
Kuzolunga,
important.
how do you get?
Motivation is important because as motivation yenzani, if ungana motivation, even the practical things enza kuxelela zona, because at that time your energy is so down, you are not being able to do it. So think about this. So I was the vice president at the Professional Speakers Association. You know how I did that? Very, very simple. When I was still working in one of the banks, ndeva kuthiwa kune-profession yabantu who actually speak for a living. I couldn't believe it. I
Oh,
couldn't believe
really?
that there are people who are paid to speak. This was like 12 years ago, and this is their main profession. So I then started to stalk a few of them. One of them told me about this association. While I was still working, I joined the association, this Professional Speakers Association. There's many of us. How do you stand out when there's so many speakers? Can't get to join. The first thing I did after a few weeks, I volunteered to 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 stand outside in the abantu nge name tags, because when we do a Professional Speakers Association, we meet every month. Everybody is coming in. Every month, siyahlangana, there's one or two speakers who are speaking. We give each other tips about the profession
Mhm.
and so on. Ndavolunteera ndathi okay, and ndiyabona akunamuntu osiza nge-name tags. I'll take I'll print the name tags. Ndizakhona ukuba based on that, suddenly a few months later, everybody knows me. Ndiyafika, I'm very new in this profession, but suddenly everybody knows me because him and Dibanika name tags every day. I'm greeting them with a smile, and I was volunteering, which means I'm a
And you're
relationship
talking.
and I'm talking. And I'm a relationship some they were built very, very quickly. I got involved in some of these committees. Then people start asking, and when you touch Angandoni, because as well, there are speakers who speak about different things. So
Yes,
ndiyabaxelela ukuba
definitely.
this is what I'm speaking about. Suddenly, people know me. They can give me referrals and so on. So one of the things that we can try and do is to volunteer our services where possible. And I know sometimes xa uhleli ekhaya, one of the most demotivating things ever, Vuyo, kukuhlala endlini ungazi uzayenza ntoni. So if there are people who can at least give you a bit of a stipend, ukuba uzonceda, nceda, because ukuphuma nje endlini and uvase uye somewhere, it's such a great motivator. Uzithola inside the very same spaces that you want to be in. So for me,
Mm,
if there's any opportunity to volunteer, volunteer, help. Hopefully, people are also not stingy. They can give you a bit of transport, but you start hearing, you start getting exposure, because exposure will change your dream. When you
mhm.
don't
And you
have
start working
exposure,
hard towards your dream when
you
you
start
actually
working
get
hard.
up.
Sometimes, how do you
Mm,
dream of something that you don't even know?
exactly.
It's when you are helping out, you are realizing, and you are meeting people. Some of those people are responsible for making sure that I ended up becoming the vice president, and I could have been the president, but and end up send busy, send get up, send my bookings and so on. And those are the same
Nice.
people that I'm collaborating even now. So that attitude of serving, that attitude of helping, and this is so important for anybody who wants to network with anybody else. The people esibafuna basimentorishe, they are busy. Add value, add something. It doesn't have to be money. As you're adding value, they know you more and more, and suddenly you're in the circles. But a time is coming where the very same people that you've been looking up to will end up being people you hang out with. So you have to keep going. Motivation is important, but find yourself in those circles, helping, serving, and all of those things. It can never go wrong.
Le- that I know for a fact, lending a hand and showing that you're interested in what you're doing. Xa volunteer, it all pays out. Sisivele ke kuye ubhuti Siphiwe wakwaMoyo. Remember, you're still tuned and locked into the drive. It is the Kena Drive 3 to 6 with myself, Uvuyo Konting, and we are doing radio according to you. And now we are doing radio according to ubhuti Siphiwe. Tell us on your platforms, ke bhuti, or before we go to the platforms, where people can get you should they want to contact you. But again, you also have a website, but we'll get straight into that. Let's just hear about Utini Umajuskatya. Majuskatya is getting in ebulisa ke yena esithi, I love this conversation. Esibulisela ke nakuwe ke bhuti. Let's go straight into your socials. Where can we find you should we want you? Kala, where are you based? Where is your headquarters? Where is your office? Where do we find you 90% of the time or 60% of the time?
I'm based at Joburg, so I'm
All
in
right.
Joburg. And luckily, as speakers, we work from home. I don't even have offices. So the basic
Okay.
landa kuthiwa abantu abana furniture ibizwa ngo-midrand.
Oh,
Kuthiwa
okay. Okay.
abantu-midrand.
Lovely.
So I'm based at
Lovely.
Jozi. I'm in Cape Town right now, but I'm based at Joburg.
At Joburg. So a person who wants you, they can contact you paya ke kuye uSiphiwe at siphiwemoyo.co.za. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. And I can see the website is also cpwmoyo.com.
Yes, that is the website. You can go straight to www.cpuemoyo.com. Oh, I forgot it .com there. But ke nonetheless, nizivele ke. Any last words to a person or Hlelipa engine, because you've achieved a lot. If I can start reading what you've been doing, or with the master classes that you've been having, your next move. Okay, what do you have for someone who's at home or pelelele themba? They have lost all hope. They have no hope in the government. They have no hope in the system. They have no hope in service deliveries. There's just no hope. You wake up in the morning, you go around, you search where the sun is, you go turn around. What do you have for a person who's at home and ohlelio or no, actually I'm just waiting for my last days? What can you
Mm.
say to that person?
Yeah, that's totally understandable. First of all, in Fulugu Chuba, it's understandable. It discouragement. People, everybody must understand. Uguti discouragement visits everyone. Everyone gets a turn to be discouraged. Some days it visits you for an hour, and some days it can even slip over a day or a two, where you are just so discouraged. But what I wanna say is, please don't allow it to move in with you permanently.
Must not
Discouragement
move in.
must go. It must not move in. And it will come from many sources. Sometimes with comparison nabanye abantu ukuthi mhlambe baphumelele before you do. Don't worry about that. And I want to say to you, discouragement will come, but just don't allow it. Right now, it may seem like nobody's interested kwi products zakho, kwiingoma zakho zibhalile, nobody's interested ku the products that you are making, the speeches that you are crafting. Xa uyi-motivational speaker, you may be discouraged and frustrated, but please don't stop doing that, because you have to understand, you have to do so much. For example, a
Take
musician,
time.
by the time people discover you as a musician, this is what normally happens. When they discover you, they're gonna want every song you've ever written. So while at the moment while at the moment it looks like nobody's interested, keep writing, keep doing. There's gonna come a time where people say, "Hey, what else have you done?" I don't want to lie to you. When I wrote my first book, when people discovered that book, because I had been writing for a long time, xa izinto bezingahlangani, izinto mazingahlangani, you're busy working. And those are the things that I'm speaking about now. Those are the things that I'm writing about now. So please don't stop working. Get yourself out of the house. Uphume uyonceda phi naphi, bamba itorho anywhere. If you are working mhlampe in a place where you feel like your salary is not enough, keep smiling, keep serving. You never know who you can serve.
It will never be enough also. People
It will
just need to
never
know it
be
will never
enough.
be. It will never be enough.
It will never be
Not in
enough,
this.
but you never know. You never know who you're serving. It can change your life. And people are always looking, and I say this a lot, people are always looking for people with great attitudes, because a skill you can teach somebody. So keep serving zizojika izinto. Xa uthola nje a little bit of an opportunity, get in there and do your everything you can.
Hi, I couldn't have said it better. Watye onke ke ubhuti Siphiwe wakwaMoyo. Remember, we were in conversations with ubhuti Siphiwe wakwaMoyo celebrating World Motivation Day. Apha eKithingesi Radio. Remember, ke, you can continue streaming us live at www.kithingesi.radio.com. And also, should you want us to share any sentiments, contact us on 0661372723. Uyafuna ke ukhulumana naye ke ubhuti, and you didn't hear the details. They're currently scrolling on the screen, but you can send us a message. Sizayithumela kuye ke thina. Thank you so much for honoring the invite and coming into the drive and doing the drive just the way people like it. Ke bhuti. Looking forward to hearing from you. I am so tempted to reading Zonge's company that you've worked with, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to jeopardize I don't want to jeopardize you.
No,
But
no,
thank you so
for me you
much.
can, but I know
I no,
ixesha
no, no.
lakho
I'm
lifile
jeopardizing
anyway.
myself. In fact, I'm jeopardizing
Oh
myself,
yeah,
not giving you.
babhatalanga.
Yeah, it's coming to me now. But thank you so much for coming in on the show and sharing your achievements and sharing everything that you've shared for us, Ke Puti. We will continue, Tina, talking. We'll continue the conversations. www.kithgesiradio.com. Masibambe ngazo zozibini, Ke Puti. Siphiwe, we are currently leaving the live session now.
Enkosi kakhulu.
Thank you. All right, Ke Puti, thank you. Till we meet again.